Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 8th, and right now we're looking at the culmination of Doppler radars here across the Pacific Northwest. You can see this wave of precipitation moving up over the Puget Sound, across some of the Willamette Valley, the coastal range, Spokane, eastern Washington, some much needed precip as well. Very welcome out there. We're going to stay active here through the 10-day period, but we've got some pretty good model disagreement here coming up, but we look to remain active on through the 10-day period. What's potential for even a windstorm here as we go through the next week or so? We'll take a look at that. And there's going to be a strong system moving up off the coastline here Monday. It's a pretty deep low, and it's going to stay just far enough where it's probably going to bring some windy conditions to the coastline, but not too bad for the interior. But some of those gusts are showing up into the 40s for the Willamette Valley, and they've been on the uptick a little bit across the Puget Sound as well, northwest interior, and some of the east component might go through the Cascades and the gorge here. We'll take a look at that as well. So now taking a look here, we're going to just jump right into things. Infrared satellite imagery. Here's the initial system there. This is that stronger system here. It's going to stay off the coastline, potentially bring some windy conditions here across Pacific Northwest, and we're going to remain active, like I said, probably through the 10-day period here, with some windstorm potential showing up near the end of the run here. We'll continue to watch that day by day. Looking at the northern hemisphere here, some North Pole, Alaska, Washington, Oregon, British Columbia here, and you can see the cold air as it spins around. I'll put it into motion, let it loop through once. Kind of interesting to see the temperatures of the planet here. You see that cold air over the northern hemisphere here, and as you go towards the equator, the air gets much warmer here. But you'll see here as we go on in through later in the period, I want to show you that some stronger looking systems potentially showing up there, impacting the Pacific Northwest here as we continue to rotate systems around the Pacific Ocean here. But this would be a little bit of a change here. This one diving inland a bit more, but it's starting to weaken at that point. But anyway, we'll watch for some windstorm development here across Pacific Northwest. We going through the 10-day period. This is the same map here. Looking at the jet stream at 39,000 feet. Put that into motion here. You can see the persistent jet stream here coming off the coast of Asia. A little bit of break there. But as we go towards the end of the period here, you'll see this jet stream reach out towards Pacific Northwest. A bit more shown here. So that could potentially bring some stronger systems into the region there. But let's take back up a little bit more and look at that Monday system as well. You can see it move up the coastline here, and this trough even showing at 39,000 feet there. That's going to keep that low pressure right offshore here across Pacific Northwest. Look at those wind speeds here in a moment. But let's look at precipitation here over the next 10 days. This is the European run, 4 a.m., which is 12Z. That's 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Precipitation falling today, not too much, more along the Oregon-Washington coast, the higher terrain down through southwest Oregon. Getting a little bit like we saw on the radar here across eastern Washington as well. Any amount is welcome. Some snowfall across the Cascades. Watch out traveling across the passes there for some wintry driving conditions. Put this all the way out into, this is Tuesday showing here. There we go into Wednesday. There's Thursday, Friday, and you see the precipitation amount start to pick up again towards the end of the period, which we're going to still remain active here, but you can see some better amounts finally starting to show up here across the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, coastal areas being the winners here, but Cascades of Washington, British Columbia, Vancouver Island getting some nice amounts, and anything we can get in eastern Washington and Oregon is always a benefit and always welcomed. Now, taking a look here, this is that system moving up now, bringing the precipitation across the region as we speak. Then the stronger low. Look at this, a 968 millibar low, kind of a monster out there, just far enough away here, even though it does cast still quite a tight pressure gradient as it moves up the Oregon coast, Washington coast. It's going to bring some strong winds there. But if this thing were just another 100 miles inland here, we'd be looking at, a pretty substantial windstorm here coming up, even though we are still going to get some strong gusts from it. And then as we put that into motion here, let's go ahead and look out through the 10-day period. Continue to see those storms pinwheeling off our coastline here. Bit of a break, then some stronger systems start to develop here. And I saw one out here in the 10-day period. Look at this guy here. Pretty strong low pressure system, weakening as it makes landfall, but this would bring pretty good winds here to the Oregon coast, from the Willamette Valley towards the Puget Sound here as we went on. But this is off in the 10-day fantasy land, so purely a fantasy windstorm hunt right now, but we may remain active here through the 10-day period. So initial system there. Here comes the much deeper low here, and you can see some stronger winds coming up to Oregon, Washington coastline there. And you'll see the easterly component to these winds here as we go through the morning Monday, the Gorge, Stampede, Gap. We'll look at some of those speeds coming up here. And you can see some decent winds coming up there Monday night through the northwest interior off the east portion of Vancouver Island as well, as California continues to be bombarded with storms across the next week. Further to the south there, total snow. Let's let this run out through the 10-day period as well. Nothing showing yet for the lowlands of western Washington, Oregon, or through the Columbia Basin, really through the 10-day period. But you can see we are going to build up some nice snowfall, especially through the extended here. As you can see, the Washington, Oregon Cascades getting up over the 3 to even 4 foot range here. Vancouver Island and British Columbia here, southwest portion is going to get some nice amounts as well. And the Olympic Mountains also, but nothing in sight yet for the lowlands right now. Again, we're kind of eyeing the end of January and February so far, but that's still way out there in Fantasyland. No guarantee of that by any means. Now, taking a look here, GFS versus the European here. You can see pretty good model agreement as we go out through hour 100 here. Keep that into motion here. Here's the GFS on the right. This is this morning's run. You can see the active pattern continuing all the way through 200 hours. Still pretty good model agreement here with the European kind of bringing that windstorm towards Pacific Northwest. Purely a fantasy storm at this point. But you can see we do remain active all the way out through the 10-day period here on both the GFS and the European model. Significant wave height for those of you along the coastline who want to go wave watch, or anyone with any concerns along the coastline here. You can see the pretty big waves moving up with this storm system on Monday. A lot of that activity moving into California here. Then the next system here, look at this Thursday afternoon. Not a bad day shaping up here for some wave watching here along the Oregon, Washington, Vancouver Island coastline there, all the way up towards western BC, as the west coast just continues to get bombarded by a pretty strong swell here as we go through the 10-day period. And look at that one showing up with that windstorm way out in Fantasyland there. But yeah, it's kind of fun watching these wind and wave maps come across the region here, especially during January. This is Southwest Regional Airport here. Look at some of these gusts showing up as that low pressure moves up the coastline on the day Monday. Some of these ensembles are well up over 50 to 60 miles per hour, even stronger. The ensemble mean into the low 50s here. So this is the Southwest Oregon coast. This is looking up a little further north, Tillamook, Oregon here. Pretty good ensemble agreement here for a pretty strong wind to come through here, up towards 55 miles per hour. Some of the gusts are even stronger showing up here. This is Quilio up the Washington coast. Ensemble mean up towards 50 miles per hour. Some gusts stronger there as well. So not a bad coastal wind coming up here through the day Monday on and through Monday night. This is Stampede Gas. This would be the east winds showing up here into the lower 50s here. So we have to watch out for this potential again down through North Bend to Enumclaw with these east winds rolling out into the lower elevations here across the west slopes of the Cascades. This could include the Portland Gorge here off in the eastern portions of the Portland Metro down there. Orcas Island, check it out. Ensemble mean up towards 50 miles per hour there. Seattle, Tacoma actually trending a little bit windier here, but still just probably mostly just a blustery day, even though some of the ensemble runs have stronger winds up into the lower 40s, even a couple up towards 50 miles per hour. But I don't know about that. We'll probably be somewhere around the 40 mile per hour range if I had to guess right now for Seattle, Tacoma. So it could be pretty blustery. You might notice it out there, but probably not enough for any nuisance power outages. We'll have to watch that trend. This is out through the 10-day period here. You can see the coastal regions getting those big winds all the way up towards Quileute here. Just blustery across the Puget Sound here. So this is the 10-meter max accumulated wind gust. It might be underdoing some of the winds here across the northwest interior up on eastern Vancouver Island as well as along the coastline. The Europeans been underdoing these a little bit at times this year. Probably going to get some stronger gusts along the Washington coast as well, and probably through the Gorge and Stampede Gap areas also. This is looking at that Pacific North American oscillation. Not much change this morning. Kind of shows us being around the positive territory 1 and 2, and then back down towards neutral territory here. But we're not getting much of a signal as we go out towards January 17th and 18th shown there. This is the moderate avalanche danger across the Cascades, Olympic Mountains, and considerable down here for Mount Hood. So watch out for that if you're off in the backcountry today. Just have a heads up there. Check out this site. Very nice Northwest Avalanche Center. And I showed this yesterday as well. This is the climb out of La Nina conditions here. This is January right now. So we're going on into February. We're supposed to be in a rapid climb here according to the models, and you can kind of see it here. I'll zoom in a little bit. Here's the current conditions, January, February, March, and you can see this cold water starting to wane across the equatorial Pacific here, and El Nino here starting to peek its head across the equatorial Pacific here as we go on into the summertime months here, which means a new entire onslaught of threats here across Pacific Northwest, really. And I'll go over those as we get closer to next fall and winter. That usually doesn't have that many effects here as we go through the summer months here. So I'll do probably individual videos on the El Nino, and we'll go over some historical values and what we can expect here across Pacific Northwest. So that'll be coming in the months, probably on in through later summer as we get towards the fall months upcoming here. And we'll have much better idea if El Nino is actually coming this fall and winter as well, versus if we're going to be in a neutral year. And virtually every single model and all the ensembles right now tell us that we're going to be out of La Nina here. So we had a 3-year run of it. Hope you enjoyed it, because we're coming out as we go on into the summer. So anyway, yeah, the storm train is still active into California here. The systems are pinwheeling up the coastline. As you saw, we could get some pretty good winds along the coastline here with this system on Monday shown out here. And then we have the potential to remain active as we go on into the 10-day period as well. Windstorms not out of the question here across Pacific Northwest. Pretty good precipitation amount showing up Cascades on through the west coast as well. Southwest BC, higher terrain especially. So anyway, let's build up that snowpack. If you want to click that join button down below and join me for these daily briefings. Click like, subscribe, help the algorithm out there, and tell your family and friends about the channel. We're up over 28,000 subscribers now. You guys make this all possible. You make it worth my while to come here every day to do these briefings here. And yeah, so I hope you guys are having a good day. Get out and enjoy that rainfall, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.